Welcome to the debate. Our source material today lays out a fascinating duality when it comes to relational success. It basically presents two very distinct philosophies, and it forces us to ask the question, does finding your ideal partner depend primarily on, say, internal transformation, this principle of attraction, or does real longevity rely on the constant, diligent, creation of a connection through continuous effort once you've actually found someone? I'm going to argue that self-becoming is the essential precondition, the real secret here.
And I come at it from a different angle. While self-improvement is, of course, never wasted, I'd argue that the true mechanism for long-term survival rests squarely on active creation. The core strength isn't in that initial magnetic pull, but in the building, the continuous work it takes to keep a connection strong enough to, withstand decades of life's complexities.
My position is really rooted in that core idea from the text. Stop chasing, start becoming. The whole philosophy, it rests on individual growth. You have to be the person your ideal partner would choose. This self-actualization model acts as a kind of a sophisticated filter. By focusing only on your own growth, the source promises that the right person will appear for the person you've become. And this strategy, it ensures a deep structural compatibility on values and goals, which should minimize the friction that requires all that strained effort later on.
See, I just don't buy that sustained attraction, no matter how sound the foundation, is the secret to longevity. Attracting someone is really just the opening act. The material's very clear on this. It emphasizes that a perfect match isn't found, it's created. Longevity demands a relational resilience that you can only build through conscious investment. And this effort is necessary because those superficial qualities that spark the initial interest, they inevitably fade. And that's not just physical appeal, but the crucial element of novelty. You need sustained effort and adaptation to manage all the unforeseen changes life throws at you.
That's a powerful defensive effort, I'll grant you that. But it begs the question, doesn't it? If someone successfully becomes this ideal version of themselves and achieves that structural compatibility you mentioned, shouldn't the default setting be relational flow instead of constant friction? Where's the need for all this strenuous, continuous effort if the match is genuinely ideal from the start?
I think you might be misunderstanding the timeline. Even a really strong initial match isn't enough because, as the source states, superficial qualities fade. This implies attraction is just the launching mechanism. The continuous work is the key to maintaining a happy relationship, and you do that by actively prioritizing mutual understanding above all. That's what shifts the connection from being based on novelty to being rooted in deep character dedication. Without that conscious shift, the relationship just stagnates. And we have to look at how the material defines that collaborative effort. It specifies a dynamic that's highly structured. Both partners must make an effort, men to understand and women to adapt and follow. This framework, this set of defined roles, is explicitly presented as critical for building stability that lasts for decades. The creation process is structurally defined to manage conflict.
Right, and that's where I feel the source material starts to almost betray its own philosophy. I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning, because defining effort in such prescribed roles, where one person is mainly responsible for understanding and the other for adapting, that seems to contradict the whole spirit of mutual symmetrical growth that's so central to the becoming stage. How can we promote radical self-actualization if the partnership that results forces one person into a static, adapting role? The real secret has to be in making sure that individual foundation is so strong that any adaptation becomes organic and balanced, not, rigidly role-based.
The tension is definitely there. But maybe we can see this as the source distinguishing between two necessary skill sets. The individual strength you need for finding someone, that's the self-becoming, and the structural discipline required for sustaining the relationship, that's the effort. My argument is simply that the latter has more explanatory power for why a partnership endures for 30 years, long after that initial attraction has matured into something else entirely.
So, to summarize my position, while conscious effort is obviously needed to sustain anything worthwhile, the attraction principle, that focus on radical self-transformation, is the indispensable first step. It ensures you enter the right relationship to begin with, which minimizes the structural flaws that relentless effort would otherwise be needed just to paper over.
And my summary remains that the strongest relationships are defined not by the quality of the initial match, but by the continuous, conscious investment and prioritization of mutual understanding required to create a resilient connection. The secret is absolutely in the creation process, because, well, the world is just too complex for attraction alone to be enough.
It seems we agree that the source material successfully illuminates two critical and maybe inseparable dimensions of a partnership that listeners have to consider: the foundation of self and the sustained architecture of effort.
Exactly. Thank you for the discussion.